video, I'll show you how to view the Power Automate flow runs which you create within your Power Platform environment. Now, as you see over here, I'm in make.powerautomate.com website, and here if I navigate to my flows, I should be able to see all the flows which I have created. Now, these are some of the flows which I have created. So if I just want to run this, I'll just click on the play button, run flow, and the flow will get executed. Similarly, I'll click on play button and then I'll execute another flow. Now if I want to know the flow run, like how many times the flow has run, I can just click on this three dots and then I can go into navigate to run history, or I can click on that flow and then from here I can see the run history. Okay, so here as you see, this flow was run like 21 seconds ago and it was succeeded, and there were a couple of flow which were failed. Now I can see all the 28-day run history over here. So if I click on all runs, then I can see a more comprehensive list, and then from there I can uh, view all this information. Now, for an individual flow, I need to navigate to those individual flows to view the run history. So if I want to see the run history of time zone converter, I'll go over here and then navigate to the run history and then view it. Now what if you want to know, like, for all the flows within your organization? Okay, now see, as you see over here, there might be like numerous flows which you may have authored or your colleagues may have authored. Now if you want to know how many flows have run, how many flows have failed, which flow is currently running, so if you want to get all those information, it's not possible to navigate to each and every flow and then view the run history. So for that, we have something called as an automation center. Now as you see over here, this is an automation center. If automation center is not available, then you can view under more sections, and then maybe it might have been not pinned, so you can go ahead and pin that. And once you find that automation center, on the left side it says the automation center provides a comprehensive visualization that enable you to monitor the health of your automation, quickly detect issues or trends, and troubleshoot problems more efficiently. So basically, you need to come to this automation center and then view all the flow which has been run in the past X days. Okay, now there are a lot of things happening within the screen. So first we'll navigate to the overview tab. It will give you recommendations. Okay, so if there are any recommendation, if there are flows which are failing continuously, then Power Automate will give you a recommendation so that you can fix that particular issue. In activity, here you will see all the top level flows, all the total runs, the flow run error rate. So flow run error rate is basically the percentage of errors that occurred during the flow execution based on selected filters. Total run will give you the number of flows run based on your filtering selection, and top level flows are the flows that had one or more run based on selected filters. Now, this screen will give you the information of flow run error trends, top flow runs, and these statistics. So it's a one place shop whereby you can navigate and then you can find out all the flow which is either executed or failed or succeeded. Now we have a whole bunch of filters over here, so you can selectively decide whether you want to show it for all the flows within your environment, or you can click over here and you say that, oh no, I just want to show only say four Power Automate flows because these are related to my project, and then you make that selection and then your statistics will be updated. Now I've just provisioned this environment recently, so I may not be able to get all this information. uh, Also, you need to have a premium license to view all this information. Now, next filter is about all run status. So if you want to just see the flow which is succeeded or failed or cancelled or terminated, you can select that filter. Alternatively, you can click on clear filter to remove the filtering capability, and then this will display all the information. Now as you see over here, some of the information has started popping in. Okay, so I have run this four flows. Okay, and that's why this flow information have started popping in now. Now, one thing you need to remember, that any flow which you run you cannot just run the flow outside the solution, so it has to be within the solution. Now, say, take for example, I have this flow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go inside this flow. This flow is within one of the solution, so I will navigate and then I will run this flow, and I will just run it again. So what I've done is, like, I have just simulated the flow run, and then this information will be displayed in this particular dashboard. Okay, so this refresh is not instantaneous, so I've run twice, so it should show technically 6 over here, but then it goes into the back end, it fetches the information from some back end table, which I'm going to show you shortly. Now let's move on to the filtering. So we have seen all run statuses, and if you want to see all the errors, so if you want to pin down on a specific error, like if the flow has been terminated or the action has failed or timed out, you can actually filter that and see those information. um, then we have flow run failures. So if you want to specifically see all the flow which has been run, so you can failed, you can see all the failed runs over here. Okay, and then it will give you the complete list. So this is like a centralized place through which you can see all the information. So let me clear all the filters. Now, as you see over here, flow name, flow type, trigger type, status, so it has started giving me the list, okay, for all the flow which has been run and which was run recently. Now I have an option to show or hide column. So if I do not want run mode or duration, I can just go over here and then remove that, or I can select machine group, or maybe I just don't want to see the, say, maybe trigger type. I can select that and then it will save this information. So I have whole bunch of options available. Then the next one is about runs and work queues. So work queues are specifically for like the Power Automate desktop kind of an environment, and if you are using queues within your Power Automate, then this will be the place to go and then view the information. So you need to have a license. You can even start a free trial. If you're just trying out this functionality, then you will be able to see the visualization for work queues as well. Then there is a desktop flow activity. So again, desktop flow activity related to uh, the desktop flows within Power Automate. You need to have a separate license for that, and it will take you to the left menu. So we have a dedicated left pane over here as well. So now navigating back to Automation Center, here, as you see, I can see the top flow run. Now the count has increased to 5. Okay, so let me refresh this. So if you want to see the latest information, maybe just wait for like 3 or 4 minutes, and then it will start updating the dashboard. Now, if I just remove all the filter, I'll just say I just want to see anything which has happened in the last maybe 24 hours. I'll click on apply, and then it will show me all the information which has happened in the last 24 hours. And there is no error, flow run error. So that's why it is not showing any information over here. Now, what happens in the backend is technically in, if you navigate to make.powerapps.com, there is a table called as flow run. Okay, so as you see over here, there is a table called as flow run. So it's a backend table which stores all the flow run related information. Okay, now as you see over here, it has this list of all the flow runs. So it has got 5 records. Now there are other fields which you can enable. So there is a bot ID, there's a conversation ID, there is a duration, there is a flow run ID, error message. So all this information, it's a nice a table which has all this information. It captures all this information, and in turn this information get rendered in the Automation Center. So this table is pretty much important because all the informations are populated from this particular table. So this table name is called as a flow run, and it is of type, it's an elastic table. So as you see over here, it is a elastic table which stores all this information. Now there are a couple of settings which you may need to do. So if you navigate to environment, so I'm in the environment and I've navigated to features. Now if you scroll down, you should see some information with regards to log. Now, this is an information. So desktop flow run actions log configuration. So activation status on run action logs, actions log version, and flow logs. entity time to 11 minutes. Now this translates to 28 days, 4320. Now what does this indicate is that all the flow log entry, the default value is 4320 minutes. That means it is 28 days, and all the logs will be stored for that particular amount of days. Now if you do not want the logs to be deleted, then set the value to 0, so that all the information within the flow runs does not get deleted. Now, there are a couple of options in action log version. So I've selected both, but there is V1, which is stored in the additional context field of the flow session entity. So there is another entity called as flow session, and V2 stored in the flow logs entity. So if you just want to store in the flow logs entity, use V2. If you want to store in the additional context field of the flow session entity, then use V1. So let's go over here, and if I go to table, so I've see if you see over here, there is a table called as flow session, and it's of type standard. So there is a way to store the information in entity to show the information that is generated when a Power Automate desktop flow runs. So this is specifically to Power Automate desktop flow runs. Okay, so flow session, and then the table which we have seen for flow logs. Now, first thing, you need to enable this if you want to see the activation status of run action logs. If you disable it, then it won't store. Now it takes the Dataverse database capacity, so make sure that you have sufficient capacity, and you may run out of storage if you have so many flows running and then a lot of activities happening within your environment. There are various documentation provided by Microsoft. So Microsoft has provided documentation around manage cloud flow run history in Dataverse. So it's nicely documented in Learn site, and you can see all the various status, the start time, end time, runtime duration, all the metadata related to the flow runs. So you can see all this information, how to turn on or reduce the storage of cloud flow. So it is all nicely documented, and you can even set the TTL, time to live value calculations. Now as we saw that 28 days translated to 2419 200 seconds, so we have 60 days, so we have all these numbers defined over here, so you can make use of that. And there are other known limitations which are mentioned within the documentation. Flow run table, which we have seen, so flow run table basically has so many columns, so they have given the purpose of each and every column, so explained all the schematic, what are the writable columns. So it has got a nice documentation over here. Similarly, there's a documentation on how to enable the desktop flow actions log configuration. So make a so you can read all this information over here as well. So as you see over here, 28 days, 4320. Now if you want to keep it forever, keep it 0. If you want to keep it for 365 days, put this number. So this is in translated in minutes, so 5 to 5 600 is equivalent to 365 days. Now, there is a note: before enabling logs V2, make sure you have sufficient Dataverse database capacity that would support data retention and aligns with the capacity planning. So make sure that you uh, manage your Dataverse capacity in such a way that you don't end up consuming more space, and then that will eventually the performance for the apps and flows will be deteriorated within the environment until and unless you expand the storage. So that's it, folks. This is all about Automation Center. So the whole purpose of Automation Center is if you want to see any of the flow runs within your environment, which is part of the solution, and if you want to see whether the flow has run, whether it has failed or succeeded or it has timed out, all this information can be seen over here rather than you going into the flows and then checking individually. It's a nice place to check this information. Sometimes, like the flow may run infinite amount of time. Sometimes the flow may run in some loop. So it is the best place to check in the Automation Center whether how your flow is performing. So that's it from my end. I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching.